a large part of our practice is also civil rights litigation, and of course that encompasses a lot of type of cases. Explain to us the types of civil rights cases that we do.
Well, we handle the whole spectrum here, from police misconduct to employment to First Amendment type violations. It doesn't matter, what the situation is. If you were fired from your job because of your race, age, gender, national origin, or engaging in some type of protected conduct, that's something that we can help you out with. Likewise, if you've been the victim of police misconduct, say they roughed you up during an arrest, or you believe you were falsely arrested, we can also handle that. Or in the event you ended up in prison and didn't receive the proper medical care or treatment, that's also something we can handle.
And where do these cases typically end up? We've talked a little bit about the difference between state and federal court. Where do you see civil rights cases usually ending up?
Typically, and when we do these, they end up in federal court 99% of the time. Part of the reason for that is that the statutes that you're going to be suing under for civil rights violations are federal court statutes, and we believe that's the better way to go. The judges in federal court appear to be a little bit more well-versed on these, and they get the issues, and it's a place that we think these cases ought to take place.
And what can a person expect when they file a civil rights complaint? Well, kind of walk through the procedure that normally happens when a civil rights complaint is filed.
Well, there's a couple things you got to consider, and it depends on what kind of civil rights claim you're bringing. If you're bringing a claim relating to the ADA, which I didn't mention earlier, if you have a disability and you're denied an accommodation or discriminated on the basis of that, there's an administrative process you've got to go through before you can get to court. However, once you get to court, all civil rights cases are the same in how they proceed. You file a complaint laying forth what you believe happened to you and why you should be entitled to damages. And after that complaint gets served on the defendant, who then has 20 days to either file an answer or motion to dismiss. After that happens, the court will then set a case management order, and then you proceed into discovery, which is taking depositions, doing written discovery, and then ultimately you can end up at trial. However, in the middle of that process, you'll end up at a court-ordered mediation where you'll try to settle the case.
Talk to me a little bit about the difference between civil rights litigation that involves law enforcement as opposed to other types of, say, an employer or a civilian type of, what we call a civilian type of case.
Yeah, unfortunately, and this is kind of what I like about this practice, is it's always we're helping out the little guy, and when you're dealing with law enforcement, and the laws evolve this way, is it's stacked against the little guy. Law enforcement has some defenses built in that private people don't have. For example, if law enforcement files a certain type of motion in a case based on a defense called qualified immunity, and they lose that motion, they have a right under the law to take an appeal to a federal court. So oftentimes your case against a police officer might take a little longer than it would against a private type company because of the ability to take those appeals. However, we do handle those appeals. We're very comfortable in all appeal arenas. And when it returns back from being on appeal, then you can proceed, and oftentimes your case will even settle after the appeal because you'll have a higher settlement value at that point.
What is it about the civil rights arena that excites you? Why do you like to do civil rights cases?
There's probably three things I like about it. I like being in the underdog role. I like being able to help people, and you can genuinely help people when you're doing the civil rights cases. And third, most importantly, and it kind of ties into the first two, is it's defending the Constitution. These cases are where constitutional concepts and the parameters of our Constitution are laid. That also plays in with our criminal law practice. What we're doing here is we are protecting the Constitution.